Jason Lin didn't know why he was on this spaceship. Actually, he did. It was a mistake. He was not a great linguist. He had studied alien languages in college, mostly for fun. He never thought he'd actually use it. But when Earth's best translator caught a space flu right before the biggest alien meeting in human history, Jason got the call. And now here he was, standing on the bridge of Earth's diplomatic starship, wearing a suit that didn't try not to throw up. "Are you ready?" Commander Patel asked him. Jason turned to her with wide eyes. "I'm not even sure I'm awake." The commander smiled. "Just speak clearly. Don't insult their ancestors. And whatever you do, don't sneeze." Jason nodded, not feeling any better. The Corellian Empire was the most powerful force in this part of the galaxy. They controlled over 80 planets, had a military larger than Earth's entire population. And their Empress was known for turning enemies into decorative pillows, so naturally, Earth wanted peace. The humans had arrived. At the Corellian Palesa, massive black structure, floating in space like a shiny obsidian claw. Inside, the air smelled like burnt cinnamon, and the walls pulsed softly, live with alien energy. Jason followed the diplomatic team down the long hallway, trying not to stare at the guards. They were tall, with silver skin, 4 arms, and glowing blue eyes. Each one looked like they could snap him in half like a pencil. Finally, they entered the audience chamber. The Empress sat on a throne made of swirling metal and light. Her gown shimmered with colors Jason had no name for. Her face was unreadable, calm, cold, and beautiful in a terrifying way. "Welcome, humans," she said in perfect English. "We are curious." Earth's ambassador, a woman named Dr. Rivera, stepped forward. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We come in peace," but before she could finish, she coughed hard. She stumbled, turned pale, and collapsed. Panic spread through the human team. A medic rushed over. Jason blinked. "Run, hide, die quietly." Then the Empress looked at him. "And who are you?" she asked. Jason took a shaky step forward. Jason Lin, Your Impressness. I'm just the backup. You speak our tongue?" she asked. Jason swallowed. "A little. Then speak. Greet us in our language." "Oh no. Oh no, no, no." Jason took a deep breath. He had studied Corellian for 6 months. It was a mix of sounds, tones, and tiny clicks. Get one thing wrong, and you might say something totally different. But he had no choice. He bowed, then said carefully, "Glurb Zeta Varela. Chakrin to tan." He paused, then added a small click at the end. Silenced, the Empress stared at him. So did the guards. Jason waited for lasers, or maybe a trapdoor that would drop him into space. Then the Empress laughed, not a polite chuckle, not a royal smirk. She threw her head back and howled with laughter. "You are so funny, human," she said. "Did you just call me a dancing toilet of starlight?" Jason blinked. "I what?" "No. I meant to say, honored Empress, we bring friendship and peace." More laughter. Her guards looked confused, but nobody vaporized him, so that was a win. "I haven't laughed like that in 40 cycles, she said. "You amuse me." Jason smiled nervously, happy to help. To everyone's shock, the Empress canceled the rest of the formal meeting. Instead, she told her servants, "This human will stay with me. I want to hear more of his funny words." Jason was led to a private chamber, still massive, and full of strange floating lights. He sat on a chair made of warm living crystal. The Empress walked around him slowly. "Earth sends clowns as diplomats?" she asked. Jason rubbed the back of his neck. "Actually, I wasn't supposed to talk. I just studied languages." "You butcher them?" she said, grinning beautifully. Jason laughed awkwardly. "Guess I'm a natural disaster." "Will allow you to live," she said, sitting across from him. "But only if you continue to entertain me. You are now my court jester." Jason blinked. Is that like an ambassador? It's like a performer, a fool, companion for an empress who is too powerful to be told the truth? Jason looked around the glowing room. "Sounds like a promotion." Empress leaned forward. "Make me laugh again, human." Jason panicked. His mind went blank. He blurted the first joke he could think of. Why did the chicken cross the galaxy? She tilted her head. Chicken, small bird, earth animal. It's very stupid. She nodded slowly. To answer the egg's call for peace. Jason said. Silence. Then a soft snort. Then full laughter. You are ridiculous, she said. I love it. Later, Jason sat alone in a guest room, wondering how he was still alive. He looked out the window at the stars and tried to make sense of his life. He had come here by accident. Had spoken the Empress's language like a child smashing a piano, and now was the most important human in the Empire. He laughed, quietly to himself. Okay, Jason, he whispered. Let's see how long you can keep this going. Jason Lin woke up to the sound of singing metal. The walls of his alien bedroom were humming, not like music, but like a machine was dreaming. Lights flowed across the ceiling, changing colors with every note. It was beautiful and very, very weird. Jason sat up on the soft, glowing bed and looked around. No windows, no doors, just smooth, warm crystal walls and floating furniture. I'm still on the alien ship, he thought, still the Empress's clown. Yesterday, he had insulted the most powerful alien queen in the galaxy by accident, and somehow she loved it. Now she had made him her personal jester. He wasn't sure if that was a reward or a trap. The wall in front of him slid open with a whisper. A tall Chirelian stepped in. He wore silver armor and had 2 extra arms folded across his chest. We'll come now, the guard said. The Empress waits. Okay, Jason said, standing slowly. Just give me a second to put on my pants. The guard looked confused. What is ... pants? The Empress's chamber was larger than a football stadium. The floor was clear, showing the stars below. The walls pulsed like slow heartbeat. And in the center sat Empress Varela. Wearing a long dress made of energy and smoke, Jason stepped forward, trying not to trip over his own feet. Good morning, Your Empressness, he said, bowing awkwardly. You live, she said, smiling. That is a good start. Jason cleared his throat. So, what exactly does a jester do here? You make me laugh, keep me curious. You stop me from being bored. Jason blinked. And what happens if you are bored? The Empress shrugged. I vaporize something. Or someone. Depends on the mood. Jason's smile froze. But she added, You are doing well so far. I replayed your chicken joke 6 times last night. My advisors think it was a riddle of power. Jason chuckled nervously. Yeah, sure. Totally planned it that way. The Empress stood and walked toward him. Now come. We are visiting the high table. You will join me. The what? The royal court? My scholars, my rivals, they will be there. It will be fun. Jason swallowed hard. For you or for me? She grinned. We will find out. The high table room was shaped like a giant circle. Dozens of tall, elegant Chirelians sat around. They wore robes that changed colors with their moods. Some of them looked curious. Others looked angry that a human was there. Jason stood next to the Empress's throne, trying not to shake. This is my jester, the Empress said proudly. He's from Earth. He speaks with mistakes so bold, they become art. A Chirelian, with golden eyes, leaned forward. This thing insulted you, Your Grace. Why reward it? Jason opened his mouth, then closed it again. Don't make it worse, he told himself. But the Empress raised a hand. Silence. No, the human speaks in chaos. That chaos holds truth. Another court member, a tall woman with blue gems on her forehead, sneered then, let him speak. Let him answer a question of honor. The Empress smiled. Yes, a game. Jason felt sick. This was a setup. The blue gem woman stood, human. In Chirelian tradition, we debate not with fists, but with words. Can you defend your place here? Jason blinked. You want me to argue in Chirelian? She nodded. One mistake, and you insult the ancestors. Jason took a deep breath. He remembered what his old professor said, if you can't be fluent, be fearless. He bowed slightly, then he started. Za, Keen, Berlada, Shan, Krill. mocked a Novarine. He tried to add a polite click. It sounded more like a hiccup. There was silence. Then a few court members gasped. The Empress clapped her hands, delighted. He said, "Your thoughts are like dancing worms, and I respect their courage." Jason blinked. That wasn't what he meant to say, but it didn't sound like an insult. The court murmured, "Very creative." One said unexpected, said another. The Empress leaned back, smiling. "He has defended himself with foolish wisdom. The court accepts." Jason let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Later, the Empress led Jason to her private garden. Floating rocks, glowing trees, and birds made of light. They walked in silence. "You played the game well," she said at last. "I had no idea what I was saying. That is what made it work." Jason looked up at her. "Why keep me here? I'm not smart. I'm not strong. I'm just some guy who got lucky with a joke." The Empress turned to face him. "You're something rare in my world, human. You're unpredictable. You're kind. You laugh when afraid. You insult by accident. You confuse even our most clever minds." Jason shrugged. "We're weird, I guess. You're more than weird. You are dangerous in a way we cannot fight. And I like that." Jason frowned. "Wait, dangerous how? You twist meaning. You break patterns. Our enemies speak in rules. You speak in riddles." Jason thought for a moment. "You think confusion is power?" "In the right hands," the Empress said, smiling, "yes." That night, Jason sat in his room, thinking. He had come here as a backup translator. The Empress thought he was some kind of weapon. The court was watching him. The whole empire was whispering about the strange human who joked his way into power. What happens when I run out of jokes? He wondered. But deep down, a small part of him was excited. Not scared, not nervous, just curious. Jason Lin stood in front of a giant screen filled with strange symbols and blinking lights. He had no idea what any of it meant. "This," said Zarnak, a Corellian scholar with a long head and glowing robes, "is our war code, the sacred battle. The language of the Empire. No outsider has ever seen it." Jason raised an eyebrow. "And you're showing it to me why? Exactly? 'Cause the Empress told us to?" Zarnak said with a sigh. "She believes you are a walking puzzle who might see patterns that we cannot." Jason wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a warning. The Empress had been acting strange for the past few days. She still laughed at his jokes, still smiled at his strange Earth habits, but her eyes had changed. They studied him now. Like a pet, more like a weapon. And now, she was giving him access to military secrets? "I'm just a language nerd who got lucky," Jason thought. "I shouldn't even be here." But he was here and things were getting serious. Later, while Jason was drinking something that tasted like cold fire from a floating cup, the Empress summoned him again. This time, she wasn't smiling. "We are being tested," she said. Jason frowned. "By who?" "The Zarn Syndicate. Old enemies. They intercepted our peace messages to Earth and twisted them. They now believe Earth is preparing for war." Jason blinked. "Wait, they think Earth wants to attack them?" "They believe you," the Empress said, "are Earth's first weapon." Jason laughed, but stopped when he saw her face. "Oh, you're serious?" They demand a challenge. A public one. A duel of tongues, their tradition. 2 speakers. One from each side. A battle of language and logic. The winner's side will be seen as truthful. The loser will be seen as liars. Jason's stomach sank. "I suppose you want me to speak for Earth? You must," she said. "They demanded the human wordsmith who sits in my court." Jason paced in front of her throne. "I'm not a diplomat. I'm not a warrior. I just said a dumb joke, and now she stood suddenly. You made a court of ancient warriors question their traditions with a chicken joke. Jason Lin, you turned insult into poetry. I don't need a soldier. I need you." Jason looked into her glowing eyes and saw something he hadn't seen before. Fear if he failed, it wouldn't just be his life. It could mean war between Earth, the Empire, and the Syndicate. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll try." The duel was held in a giant arena made of crystal and sound. Thousands of alien leaders watched from floating platforms. The Empress sat on her high throne, her eyes locked on Jason. His opponent was a Zarn diplomat named Kralvek, a creature with 6 legs, a mouth that split sideways, and a voice like cracking bones. "Human," Kralvek growled, "you are soft. Your people are weak. You speak in circles and jokes. Why should we trust anything you say?" Jason stepped forward, holding nothing but a translator stone in his hand. He took a deep breath. "We speak in circles because truth is not always straight," he said calmly. "We joke because fear is real, and laughter keeps us alive." The crowd murmured. Kralvek tilted his head. "Words mean nothing without power," he hissed. "Do you have power?" Jason smiled. "Let me tell you a story. On Earth, there's a man named Shakespeare. He once said, 'A fool thinks himself to be wise, but a wise man knows himself to be a fool.'" The translator turned it into something like, "The mouth that never questions itself eats poison with pride." The crowd went silent. Jason continued, walking slowly. "We are new to space. Small, yes, but our strength is not in our ships or soldiers. It's in our ability to imagine, to adapt, to laugh when we should cry." Kralvek snarled. "Weakness into pride lies into riddles." Jason nodded. "Exactly. That's what makes us human." Then he looked up at the audience and raised one eyebrow. "Knock, knock," he said. There was confusion. A few Corellians laughed. The translator's stone buzzed strangely as it tried to explain the joke format. Jason waited. "Knock, knock. Ain't one." Brave Corellian shouted, "Who is there, Doctor? Doctor who?" Jason grinned. Exactly. It was nonsense. But the moment it translated, something strange happened. The audience, Zarn and Corellian alike, burst into laughter. They didn't understand the joke, but they understood the chaos in it, the unexpected turn, the shift in rhythm. It hit them like a mind trick, a linguistic trap. Kralvek took a step back. "You are not just a fool. You're dangerous." Jason bowed. "Thank you." After the duel, the Empress met him alone. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said softly, "You just ended a war with a joke." Jason sat down, exhausted. "I honestly didn't know if that would work." She stared at him. "You're kind. You twist truth until it sings. I've never seen anything like it." Jason looked at her carefully. "You're not afraid of Earth? Anymore?" She shook her head. "No. I'm afraid of underestimating it." He nodded slowly. "So what happens now?" The Empress smiled. "Now, you become more than a jester. You become Earth's voice." That night, Jason sat by a glowing window, staring at the stars. He thought about Earth, his family, his tiny apartment, his old job grading alien grammar quizzes. He thought about how none of this made sense, but then he thought about the look on the testuary, Empress's face when he told the joke, the sound of a whole arena laughing in 10 different languages. Maybe this was his place now. Maybe words, even bad ones, could change the galaxy. Jason Lin never wanted power. He just wanted to understand alien languages, write a paper about it, and go back home to Earth. But now, the entire Corellian Empire was calling him the voice of Earth. The Empress had given him a golden robe. The court had given him a seat beside her throne. The guards nodded to him with respect. Even the alien pets in the garden stopped hissing when he passed. But not everyone liked him. Some hated him. And one of them was planning something very, very dangerous. Jason was practicing Corellian tongue twisters in the garden. He still couldn't say Kraltha Vikanar without accidentally saying something rude. "Try again," said Navala, the Empress's personal translator and one of the few who treated Jason like an equal. Jason took a deep breath. "Crawl. Fa. Vek. Niarg." Niavella laughed. "You just told me your elbows have teeth." Jason groaned. "Give up. I'll stick to knock-knock jokes." Then the garden shimmered. A royal messenger approached, kneeling. "Sir Lin," she said, "the Empress requests your presence. Urgently." Jason looked at Navala, who suddenly looked nervous. That was not a good sign. Inside the war room, things were tense. Dozens of generals, scholars, and advisors stood around a hologram of the Corellian border. Blinking red dots marked enemy ships. The Empress stood at the center, tall and silent. Smile when Jason entered. "We have a traitor," she said. Jason blinked. "Okay, and you want me to help catch them?" "Someone is sending false messages using your style of language," she said. "Earth-style jokes, puns, idioms. They're making it look like you are mocking Corellian law." Jason's eyes widened. "Wait, so now they're copying me?" the head general growled. "They sent a message to the outer colonies. Why did the Empress cross the stars? To sit on her golden rear and do nothing." Jason cringed. "Ouch." "Blame you," the Empress said. "And if I don't prove your innocence, half the Empire may turn against Earth." Jason stepped back. "So what do we do?" "You find the real jester," she said, voice cold. "Find the one mocking my voice." That night, Jason walked through the lower levels of the palace with Navala. "I think someone's framing me," Jason whispered. "But why?" "Not everyone in the Empire wants peace with Earth," Navala said. "You've changed things. Too fast." They passed workers, servants, and scholars. Some nodded. Others looked away. They reached the Whisper Vault, the Empress's hidden archive of secret messages. A tiny door opened. Inside, walls of glowing scrolls floated in air, each written in different alien tongues. Jason pulled out the one sent to the outer colonies. He read it carefully. The joke was written in almost perfect human style, but not quite. "Look at this," he said. "They messed up the setup." Navala tilted her head. "Explain." Jason pointed. "In Earth humor, timing is everything. His punchline's off. It's like someone studied humor but didn't feel it. So someone who speaks human, but isn't one?" Jason nodded. "Exactly." He pulled out another scroll from a week earlier. A similar message, then a third. They were all signed with the same alien mark, a spiral with a broken line through it. Jason frowned. I've seen this mark before, but where?" Navala stiffened. "That symbol. It's the House of Thalkish." "Ooh!" She looked around, lowering her voice. "An ancient noble family. They used to rule before the Empress's bloodline. Now they want power back." Jason felt a chill. "So they're trying to start a war by making me the spark." Navala nodded. "You were supposed to be the Empress's mistake. Now you're her weapon." It scares them. The next morning, Jason stood beside the Empress as she held court. Noble houses, trade lords, and alien captains bowed before her. Then one stepped forward, a tall, cold-eyed Corellian, in a cloak of black and silver. "Lady Thalkish," whispered Navala. Jason stared. "This is the one." The Empress narrowed her eyes. "Speak." Lady Thalkish bowed, too low to be sincere. "Your Majesty, I come with concern. The human you treasure has insulted your throne." His words now spread among rebels. Surely this is not coincidence. Jason stepped forward. "I did not send those messages." Thalkish looked at him with a small, sharp smile. "Then perhaps your human mind is too weak to control its own voice," the court murmured. Tension rose. Jason looked at the Empress. "Let me prove it. Let me challenge her. Word against word, joke against lie." The Empress's eyes flashed. Accepted. That evening, in the Grand Hall, the challenge of words began. Jason stood on one side, Thalkish on the other. The rules were simple. Speak, defend, and don't get caught in a contradiction. Thalkesh went first. She spoke like a poet, cold, sharp, clever. Her words danced like blades. Jason knew she had trained for years. She spoke 7 languages. She used metaphors, symbols, threats, wrapped in poetry. She was good, but Jason had something else. He had chaos. "My turn," said, stepping into the light. He smiled. "Then, why did the Curelian noble bring a ladder to court?" he asked. No answer. To reach conclusions faster. A few gasps. A few chuckles, then he added, "You see, in my world, jokes are not just for fun. They're for truth. Bad leader can hide behind titles. A good leader can laugh at themselves." He pointed at Thalkesh. "She wants silence. She fears laughter, 'cause laughter breaks control. That's why she copies my voice, but misses the point." The room was silent. Jason took a deep breath. "Here's my final joke," he said. "What do you call someone who spreads lies, starts wars, and hides behind clever words?" He turned to the crowd. "A coward in a silver dress." Lady Thalkesh's face darkened. Her voice rose. "How dare you insult nobility?" The Empress raised a hand. "Enough." She stood slowly, her voice calm but deadly. "I know the truth now," she said. "Only one of you brought war into my court. Only one of you tried to use human chaos to mask a coup." She looked down. "At Lady Thalkesh, you tried to twist my jester into a knife." But he turned the blade around. The Empress nodded to her guards. "Take her away." Jason stood alone as the hall cleared. His heart was pounding. He had done it, not with lasers, not with power, with words, with humor, with truth. The Empress stepped beside him. "You were supposed to be a game," she said quietly. "Now you've saved my throne twice." Jason gave a tired smile. "Guess I'm funnier than I thought." She looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not just respect, but trust. And maybe fear. Jason Lynn stood at the top of the sky tower, looking out over the glowing alien city below. Flying ships danced through the clouds. Buildings made of light and crystal hummed softly, alive with energy. It had been 3 weeks since Lady Thalkesh was removed from power. 3 weeks since Jason, a language nerd from Earth, stopped a war with a joke, and now something even bigger was about to happen. For the first time in history, Earth would speak before the United Galactic Council, and they chose Jason to do it. He didn't sleep the night before. His thoughts were spinning like a broken fan. What would he say? How could one human speak for billions? He wasn't a leader, wasn't a warrior. He had no medals, no titles. He just had words. And sometimes, words were enough. At sunrise, the Empress met him in the palace garden. She wore a golden robe and a crown of fire crystals. Her face was calm, but Jason noticed the tension in her hands. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. Jason smiled. "You didn't have to keep laughing at my jokes, but you did." The Empress chuckled, just a little. That sound, light and honest, reminded him how this all started. She handed him a small crystal cube. "This is the voice key," she said. "It lets you speak directly to all member planets. Use it wisely." Jason took it carefully. "I'll try." "No," the Empress said, her eyes locked on his. "You will." The Galactic Council Hall was massive, bigger than a stadium. Aliens of every shape, size, and color floated, crawled, or stood in their own sections. Thousands of lights blinked across the dome like stars. Security drones hovered silently. In the center stood a glowing platform. Jason stepped onto it, alone. The voice key floated above him, ready to amplify his words across the galaxy. The council leader, a tall being made of vines and stone, spoke first. "Human, you may now speak." Jason looked out. He could barely breathe. Then he thought of something simple. He took a deep breath and said, "Knock, knock." A murmur rippled through the council. Jason repeated louder, "Knock, knock." A few brave voices replied, "Who is there?" Smiled. "Hope. Hope. Who?" Jason's voice echoed through the chamber. "Hope you're ready for something new?" There was silence then. Laughter. Not all, but enough. And in that moment, Jason knew they were listening. I come from a world where the sun burns your skin and the oceans can drown you. A world where people fight over small things. And yet we keep surviving. We keep laughing. We keep hoping. He pointed up to the stars. We didn't reach space with great power. We reached it with questions. With dreams, with stories. Walked slowly across the platform. Some of you fear humans. That's fair. We've made mistakes. But we're not here to conquer. We're here to connect. He held up the voice key. We don't bring weapons. We bring something much harder to use: humor, heart, and honesty. The lights in the dome grew brighter. Jason's voice grew stronger. You think we're weak because we laugh? But laughter is how we survive pain, how we face fear. It is the sharpest tool we have. He pointed to himself. I'm not a general. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy who told the wrong joke in the right room. A ripple of smiles passed through the audience. Jason finished. Let Earth join you, not because we are mighty, but because we are ready to learn to laugh, to speak, not just for ourselves, but for a future we can all build together. When he stepped down, the Empress was waiting. Her eyes were shining. You didn't give a speech? She said softly. You gave a song. Jason laughed nervously. I thought I might throw up on the platform. You didn't, she said. You changed the stars. That night, Earth was officially accepted into the Galactic Council. The news reached every human colony. Every station, every home, people celebrated. Scientists cried, comedians cheered, and Jason. He sat on a balcony, staring at the stars, holding a warm drink in his hands. Navala joined him after a while, she said. They're already calling you the voice of humanity. Jason shook his head. I'm just a guy with a mouth and bad timing. No, she said. You're the man who turned laughter into light. He looked at her. Do you think we'll really fit in out here? He asked. Navala smiled. You made an Empress laugh. You made a council listen. You stopped a war with a pun. Lena, she leaned back and sighed. You're not just fitting in. You're changing the rules. 1 week later, Jason received a message from Earth. It was from his old language professor. It read, Saw your speech. It's terrible grammar. Brilliant delivery. So proud of you. Jason laughed until he cried. Months passed. Jason stayed in the Chiralian capital as Earth's first cultural ambassador. He taught classes on human humor. He wrote the first official translation book between Earth, languages, and alien dialects. He even helped create the first intergalactic comedy show. The Empress continued to lead the Empire, now more open to Earth than ever before. They worked together. Strange allies from different worlds, and every now and then, during quiet dinners, she would ask, Tell me again, human. Why did the chicken cross the road? And Jason would reply, To remind the galaxy that even small things can cause big changes, especially if they know how to walk funny.